your own hot topic and turning it into a domination of a Saturday night with this movie and this biopic. Congratulations. This is so huge and such testament to your fighter spirit.
Did I say too much?
No, I don't think so. I love it. I got to tell you, I had to do my first celebrity segment on your hot topic, and to see the way you took this and you stood up, you acknowledged what had happened. And like I said, about a year ago, we saw you dealing with it, and then to come back like this, we're all rooting for you, and I love to see it. So I had to start by saying that.
Thank you. I don't know what you're speaking of a year ago, because the movie and the biography really cover all 56 years of my life in spurts. You know, the documentary is 2 hours, and you know, Lifetime is a great partner to have because they were able to understand that I wanted people. Don't just get people who are going to speak nicely of me. You get people who've seen me, you know, down in the dumps, and have seen me, you know, be screamed at by my ex-husband. And I didn't want my biography to be sweet and charming like my mother and father, my sister, my brother. Oh, once upon a time there was a girl named Wendy. No, you need to get the people. And I don't know those people's telephone numbers. I don't talk to those people anymore. You know, a lot of them. And then some of them I do talk to, but we don't talk about that. Or maybe they wouldn't be willing to come on and say if they saw something horrible happening around me. You know, and I didn't want anybody to come on and lie. And as far as the movie, I was definitely with Lifetime regarding the casting of the main characters, and definitely with the writer in terms of, you know, the storyline. It's impossible to put everything in a 2-hour story, but we touched on everything, I think, just enough for people to have some sort of takeaway. So when you say a year ago, I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, I bet a year ago, as far as us seeing the hot topics with the situation with your ex-husband and all that coming out, or maybe a little bit more than that. But that just turning something, taking lemons and turning it into lemonade.
Yeah.
But I think you mentioned being involved in the casting. What was it like? Because Sierra Payton to me does an amazing job, as well as Morocco as well. Yeah. What was it like seeing her play you for the first time?
It was like watching me. It really was. You know, I wasn't able to be in Vancouver with the cast because of Corona. I had planned on going to Vancouver every single weekend and then looking at a week's worth of what they filmed in my hotel room. I mean, I had a schedule that I was going to follow. I was going to go up there, you know, and just stay in the hotel and watch and give my suggestions of what I think I should do. I was going to play my executive producer part, but Corona happened and I wasn't able to go up there. Sierra, I said, yeah, her. I like her. You know, she's a little skinny. No, I'm not that thin, but that's what, you know, they have bigger clothes. You stuff them a little bit, or you use theater of the mind, you know. I thought that she got the acting down very well. The only person who could play me better than her is me, and I'm not an actress.
Right.
That wasn't even a thought for me to play myself. And Morocco, I didn't know him prior. I just knew that he was more of a theatrical guy.
Okay.
And so I didn't know him as being somebody who could act his way into playing Mr. Hunter. And he did a good job with that. And together, they got that.
They did.
Yeah.
He was so protective. And I thought, wow, that is what every independent, you know, girl boss secretly wants, that knight in shining armor to swoop in and be protective and take care of them. And that's
absolutely
what his character did. So,
and he did well. When I met Kevin, you know, Kevin was a high school dropout. He's been on his own since he was 14 years old. He was raised in Brownsville, Brooklyn, and he was the absolute opposite of everything that my family wanted for me.
Right.
You know? And I said, well, then either you deal with him or you don't deal with me. Now, what's it gonna be? And my family fell in line. and you know what? And so did Kevin. You know, Kevin still stayed true to exactly who he is, and I loved that about him. And you know, his first real job where he could have a 401k and a great salary and all the, an office with a big desk is here at Wendy. And he got that because he's married to me. But I never looked at it that way or never treated him that way. We were a partnership and married. We have this child at home. We have this business in the city. We have each other. Let's go. And he messed up. So I'm very disappointed in him. And, we co-parent today, and he did show up at my mother's funeral, which was nice. I called him up and told him, I've talked to my family and we all want you there. It's a very small funeral. You'll know everybody in the room. Everybody will know you, past, present, and future, because we have our son. But nobody's doing any swoop downs, nothing like that. And he came and he looked very handsome, and he dressed the part as Kevin. His pants were sagging. He looked handsome. That was once my Kevin. That's Journey's daddy.
Yeah. Well, I saw an interview you did recently where you say you don't regret anything. And I think for a lot of divorcees, that's a healthy way to look at it, because you had this beautiful life. And to think that I can't celebrate that just because, we may have grown apart or he made a mistake is heartbreaking. So to see that you've taken that, I still celebrate all these years. We did great things together, and maybe you guys will be friends at another time, you think?
We're friendly now. I mean, we're friends now. I rub in his face when I go out on a date. Ask him what he wants. I'm in the elevator. You're about to get cut off. I'm coming back from a date. Give me a moment to remove my date clothes and put on something to talk to you about, which would be a feather peignoir. You always keep it, but just throwing it in his face. What do you want? What do you want? And we'll have our conversations and stuff. I believe that it probably takes most people a lot longer than the time it took me to get over Kevin, because I'm over him. I'm disappointed in him. I don't regret him. I appreciate the things that he lent to my life, and I'm sure he appreciates the alimony checks that I keep to support his life. And I know he follows me on the gram, and I know he follows me on Facebook, and I know he's watching us right now. He's got all his feelers out. He's probably still got that alert on his phone every time
something goes on.
He's a fan.
He should be, but that the relationship seemed, even though we saw issues, it still seemed like once he entered your life, that was that best friend that you didn't have before, because you mentioned in the documentary and again in the movie being your own best friend, for so long.
Nobody replaces you as your best friend, and I'm glad that I am my own best friend. A lot of people who get married, who enter relationships, or even jobs and careers and stuff, they don't even know themselves and what they need out of the situation to better themselves, because it's self first. And don't feel selfish about saying that. That would be one of the takeaways from the movie. Don't feel selfish about taking care of yourself. I take care of myself, and then I take care of my son. Right. Because without me, he's got no mom. Right. And we've got a very small family, but I don't regret my time with him. And young Kevin is going into his senior year in September in college. And I would hope that his father would be there at the graduation. I would hope that we'd be sitting next to each other, making snide remarks at each other while smiling at our boy. I hope that we'd be able to go out to have a meal together afterwards, the three of us, or, the family. Right. I don't know what his relationship is like with his baby's mother and the little girl, but that is no place for them to be. But, he doesn't really have a filter, so he might bring them along, in which case, okay. But here's what I won't do. I won't subject my son to bringing, whoever's in my life, my boyfriends around like that. My son doesn't need a new father. He's got a father. Right. He's not going to call anybody else daddy. I'm not going to have anybody move into my beautiful apartment with me. Right. My son doesn't need to see all that. He knows. As a matter of fact, my son is very happy for me and understands that I stayed with his dad for the betterment of our family. And him as a little Black boy, you know, Livingston, New Jersey is a very white town. And there's a lot of money there, and it's very insulated. And that's how Kevin grew up. So Kevin, if I were to divorce his father too soon, it'd be too much jerking around. Plus, he's got the mom on TV every day, and then kids snickering at him. And the idea that he's Black and privileged, that would give them a reason to snicker even harder. Like, you think all that, you know, but ha 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 ha. You know, so the blow, and it's still a blow. Divorce is still a blow to children, but it's a lot easier with him being away at school in Miami, and he visits me and I visit him, and we talk on the phone all the time, and he sends me kissy face emoji, and I send him ones too. And we send each other pictures of our food, and he'll ask me about dating, and I'll ask him about dating. And I talk to him like a mom. He does not call me Wendy. Right. And I don't want to get so loose with him that he thinks of me as Wendy Williams more than mom. Yeah. Do you want to get remarried? Do you see that in the future? Yes. I love that. Awesome. What type? I love love. And Christal, I'm not embarrassed to say that a lot of women are like, you know, lying, trying to act like they're so strong. I don't need no man. I don't need you know what? I do need man. And I love men. I love them. I love the way they look at me. I can feel my back melting. You know, I love the way they talk. You know, I love how awkward they are. You know, I love the way they look at us. And I can't wait to get back in the game. I was in the game for a minute and I was doing real well. We were rooting you on. Now, what type of man? Because I think he came at the time when you needed that type of man, right? But what type of man would you need now? Because I mean, all that you've accomplished, you've overcome so much that it seemed like you had internally going on. Like, I know who I am now. I'm comfortable. I know that I have this. This is mine. I've shown everybody else that it is. So what type of man would you characteristic wise, do you think you need now? Well, before I tell you that, I will say I outgrew my ex-husband, even if there was no baby, even if there was no mistress. Fundamentally, I outgrew him. I was ready for a different, more calm, more sophisticated type of life. The level up situation. Not no disrespect to him, but just someone that was in a different place in their life at this point. Yes. And so I would love to have a man now who he must be 45 and up. Okay. I'm 56. You know, Kevin is 47. I would love him to be, or is he 49? He's 49. Anyway, I need him to be 45 and up, have his own career, and be successful. Now, his version of success might not be my version of success, you know, with, a multi-million-dollar situation in a $1 trillion business called entertainment, where if you're good at what you do, the sky is the limit. And I've got all the support. My support team is incredible around me, from management to my partners who are my bosses, to people who work here, my staff and my crew. I've got incredible people around me, and I'm really smart myself. And now that I don't have to go home and cook dinner and worry about being a mother or a wife, I've got all the time in the world. I've got 2 phones and they're ringing all the time. Sometimes for foolishness, sometimes for dates, and sometimes for real business. No, every woman, foolishness, dates, real business. But he has to be 45. I would love him to have been married, because then I wouldn't feel pressured to get married again. I want to get married again because I love love, but I don't have to. And it's kind of weird, like, say, meeting a guy who's 56 like me and he's never been married. That's kind of weird. Yeah. Like, what have you been doing? I don't want to be I don't want to be the first woman you throw your love into. You know? You had to have already had your kids, or tell me that you don't have kids because of some medical reason, and I need to see the medical records. You know, and I don't want to be anybody's stepmother. I don't want to give your kids money. I don't want to braid their hair. I don't want sleepovers. They can't live with you. I want your kids out of your house. My kid does not live with me. He comes home, you know, from Miami. He's in his room in the apartment, but that's when I stay over at your apartment.
Right.
He's got to live in the tri-state area, preferably in my borough, Manhattan.
Okay.
But he's got to live in the tri-state area, and he can't be in entertainment. He's got to look at me as the interesting one who comes home, you know,
the art about, right. He's the stable. I get that. Yeah, I like that.
And then for him, I want him to be successful enough where I can use the skills that my mom has taught me that I love so much, like setting the proper table and throwing fine dinner parties and wearing an apron and calling him honey and kissing him on his forehead and saying, isn't he smart? You know, and I wiggle around the kitchen. I like that life. And then the next day I come through the double doors and I do this.
You are Wendy, right.
Yeah.
Well, we are waiting to see. I know that's going to happen for you because when you speak it out and look what you've done so far with what you've manifested. So we know that's coming. But I want to ask you this. So you mentioned the entire 56 years. We got a chance to see little Wendy, you know, with her mom, with her siblings and mom and dad, all the way up to what's going on right now. Was that process and kind of working with the writers and bringing this to life, was this therapeutic for you? Did it give you a chance to really look back and at things that you may not have thought about, you know, currently and kind of like really just kind of relive and see lessons learned and all that? Was it a therapeutic process for you?
In a way, more shocked me, if anything, that little things made some people say, wow. Yeah. You know, I was speaking with one of your peers the other day who was saying, I can't believe that you reenacted the Statue of Liberty faint scene. Uh-huh. And Sierra, he said, that was my favorite moment in the whole movie. I said, really? Wow. And then, you know, there was a moment in the movie where I threw a stack of gossip papers and things like that at my ex-husband.
Right. Yeah.
And she acted, they both acted the hell out of that scene. I was like, I'll be damned. It's like I'm looking at me and Kevin. He was smoking a blunt on our driveway, leaning against the Rolls Royce.
Yeah.
And he looked cute. Kevin is very handsome.
Yeah.
He's still handsome. And I walked outside, you know, with my wiggle and giggle, and threw the papers at him. And he kept his sunglasses on, and then he took them off to look at it. And he said, these are all lies, or that's over, or something like that. I've got to watch the movie to see what I said in the movie. And then she grabbed his face and she said, you cheat on me again. And I swear, in the meantime, Kevin had no idea that I had been planning on divorcing him from the moment little Kevin was born.
Oh,
I married Kevin and found out shortly after our marriage that Kevin was cheating on me. When I was pregnant with young Kevin, after suffering through 3 miscarriages, and 2 of them were 5 months, one of them was 7 weeks. I was on bed rest to have young Kevin, and we couldn't have sex, and I had a weak uterus, and so I had to have the cerclage, and I could only stand up for a limited amount of time per day.
Right.
And my way of blowing off steam was just to lay in the bed and wait for the UPS man to come, because I was so busy ordering stuff off TV to nest for another tragedy, but a beautiful baby. And Kevin's way of blowing off steam was getting blown off, you know, by other women.
Yeah.
And so I knew that our marriage would not last. I knew that as soon as I got the strength and the financial resources all collected, because I'm not going to give you everything for me to have nothing. Right. I'm not going to give you everything for me to sleep on a friend's couch with my son while we get our lives together. So you can gossip about me when I need to go do my popular radio show or my popular TV. Like, no. I'm not that girl. You know, I like my girlfriends, but I am a girl, so I know girls.
You know how it goes.
And all that. Yes, we are freaking nope. Friendships are there for a reason, and when it's time to end them, I feel as though a lot of people hold on to them too long. And for me, at the height of me wanting to really divorce him, I said, I had a second thought and I said, you know what, I'm going to wait until our son goes away to college so he doesn't have to be in the middle of everything.
Right.
And he can be away. And our talk show was getting more popular and more popular. And so I had a twofold thing. Yes, the boy is away at college, but the man is my manager. The man is an executive producer at the show. So if I fire him as my husband, he definitely has got to be fired from the show.
But do you still love him though? Because it seemed like you still were in love with him.
Yeah, no, not in love.
Not in love. Okay.
No, I was playing the role. I love Kevin. I love Kevin even now.
Yeah.
Kevin will never have me back. Kevin will never be in my apartment. He will never see the inside of where I live. He will never come in these two buildings that say Wendy on the front again. And everybody here knows that. That's a fact.
Yeah.
He is a wild card. The only reason that I find it necessary to even speak with him is because we have a son together.
Yeah.
And I was forced, or maybe it's just my resilience. I'm over him faster than a lot of people would be.
Definitely.
But
maybe it's because you knew that was coming. Because we see a lot. Charlemagne and different people spoke in the documentary about him being very controlling and them seeing that.
Yeah.
Watching the relationship from the
and I let him play out that role of being very controlling. That's what he liked to play. In the meantime, I was playing him in the back by having private eyes follow him. So I knew about the main girl because he was a serial cheat. There were several girls.
Wow.
But this main girl who had the baby, I knew her gynecologist. The PI would call me up and would think, oh, girl, you are not talking to a fool. Okay. I got the best divorce lawyer that money could buy, one of those Hollywood type divorce lawyers, but based here in New York. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I told him when he came to me to tell me that first of all, he was crying like a baby. And I said, what are you about to tell me, that the girl had the baby? And he said, yes. I said, Kelvin, I've known all along. So here's what you do. Dry your tears because I've got a show to get to. You know, I'm on my way to come through the double doors.
That is awesome. That is that.
Yeah.
You need to counsel other women through that. I've gone through divorce. That is not the way most women go through that because your emotions get ahead of your rationale on what's best for you. So that is awesome.
I'm a very emotional and very sensitive woman, but I won't let you know my feelings until I can come out the winner.
Right.
See.
Right.
And so I look, most of his boys, who he still calls his boys, are the ones who told me all about that. So the PI had very little work to do. It's just that I didn't have time to do the work and didn't feel like it. And
you needed the details, those details that
his boys gossip like girls.
They do. I want to pivot a little bit and ask you, because you talked about there's some very serious things, eating disorder when you were younger. And it seems strange to me that even now, and I'm not sure how you came to be becoming, I guess, okay with yourself and weight, how you work that out outside of plastic surgery, but just internally. But it seems like even today we look at things like eating disorders and it's like, okay, that's bad. But what's even worse is if you're not able to be thin, right? So it's like,
yeah,
eating disorders are not as bad as being overweight or not appearing perfect. How did you work through that on your own? Because we see you working through it while you're in front of people, while you're on the radio, while you're talking. So where was the time for you to sit back and really go through that? Okay, I'm going through this process that I'm okay with myself, regardless of what size I am or not.
Well, I don't think that I ever really will look at myself in the mirror and not have to say, how do I look today? Yeah. I don't think that time will ever come, to be honest with you. But I knew that I would pay for plastic surgery. I knew that when I was a young girl and my parents were still calling me fat and putting me on diets. I knew that I would get it repaired through surgery because I don't have the willpower. Yeah. But once I got it repaired, I knew that I was going to show them all, you know, and I was going to get a good job done, like the full lipo, the full everything, you know, my back, my front, under my stomach, the whole bit. And then after having children or a child, get the mommy makeover. You know, no matter how much weight I gained during pregnancy, I wasn't going to be that girl saying, "Oh, it's still baby weight." Nope. Bye. Get out. And I knew that once I paid to get that stuff done, I would never gain it back because I have the discipline to, and I've always had discipline. Discipline in holding my temper, discipline in focusing on my work or my love, and definitely discipline in my food. There are days that I will only juice. There are days when I will only eat 1,500 calories a day.
Yeah.
But if it's a pint of Ben and Jerry's and a juice,
right.
You know, and I'm very healthy.
Yeah.
You know, I my vitamin D levels and all that stuff is good. I don't have a heart issue, cholesterol, nothing. I've got a great team of elite doctors,
right,
that will see me day or night. I've very special doctors that a lot of people don't realize that are available to them, and a lot of them, they don't take health insurance. That's how elite they are.
Right.
But I've got a team of elite doctors, and I have everything from heart doctor to, brain doctors, not just the outside of the brain, but the inside, bone marrow doctor, blood doctors, thyroid doctors, everything. I am getting checked out at least every other week and getting checked out for the good. So for me, it's not just Corona. It's that I'm not even a candidate
for any of this stuff.
I get Corona checked constantly here at the show. 3 different tests I take here, and so does the whole staff.
Right.
I get Corona checked at my doctor's office. They put things up my booty to make sure I don't have colon cancer, because that runs in my mother's side of the family.
Okay.
I had a very smooth glide into menopause and never had to take a hormone. The only pills that I take per day, I take Linzess to keep my bowels moving. Look that up. That has to be prescribed. That's how serious that got at one point. I couldn't go do a number 2, you know?
Right.
And I take my thyroid pill.
Right.
Those are the only 2 pills I take. I don't drink coffee. I exercise when I can. Our pool is drained in my building right now, but I do have a 2-story apartment. So up and down the steps I go. I eat lots of vegetables.
Right.
And I, meat here and there, but even when I eat meat, it's the best cuts of meat. I do enjoy quinoa, and as long as it has craisins in it.
Right. To give it that a little bit of flavor, because otherwise quinoa is hard. I want to ask about another issue. You share being a victim of date rape. And that is something I think, unfortunately, more women can relate to than not.
Yep.
Did you choose not to talk about that up until recently for your own privacy, or why did you make the choice not to share that and blast that the guy that was the perpetrator earlier than now?
Well, I did actually. In 2003, my autobiography, Wendy's Got the Heat, came out, and I was as honest in that book as I am in the movie. As a matter of fact, some of the stuff in the book is actually acted out in the movie. Okay. And that even my ex-husband did a little passage in the book where he admitted, yes, I cheated on Wendy. I'm so sorry, blah, 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 so on and so forth. So, and I talked about being date raped in college by a friend who waited for a weak moment, and being date raped by an R&B singer whose name is Sherrick. I didn't feel as though it was necessary to say his name because my life is so good, and he's dead.
Oh, wow.
Well, he's dead. I'm sure he had kids and maybe a wife, grandchildren. He was older than me, so that means he'd probably be about 63 or 65 at this point. I bring that man down when my life is so up.
Yeah. Was it hard for you to deal with that, or did you just kind of
at the time?
At the time, how did you process what happened?
I went home and scrubbed my body like a lot of women do. I did not go to the hospital for a date rape kit because I was embarrassed to. I didn't call any girlfriends because they would say, well, what were you wearing?
Right.
And my body was covered. I was not wearing anything. This is Wendy pre-surgery. This is Wendy, like 1988. His hit song, which was #1 on the R&B charts, Call Me. He was just released from jail. He was a really good singer, 6'5", looked like a DeBarge. and so the record label saw him and said, we're going to make a star out of you. And he had a beautiful voice. And he was in town to do his record release party, and he invited me to be his date. Well, I'm a young girl. I'm like, yeah. And I hadn't even gotten my surgery yet. Yes. So, he asked me to come back to the hotel with him so he can quickly change into his outfit that he wanted to wear to the party. And that's where the date rape happened. Was it my fault? No, it wasn't my fault. But what other women need to understand, especially young girls, be careful who you're around, because I'm lucky I wasn't gang raped. These guys, they will pile on you 5 at a time and leave you for dead and think nothing about it and do it raw dog, use no condoms. Yeah, there was no condom involved. Use no condoms and not care about you. I left that hotel room crying, dried my tears, walked through the lobby with my head down. I wasn't popular on the radio in Washington, D.C., but I was cute. And I walked to my Subaru I took a taxi cab home because we'd gotten there in his limousine to his hotel and went home, and I called my father, and I didn't tell my father about it. I just called my father. Yeah.
That's safety in hearing his voice.
Yeah. Didn't tell him about it though. Just told him, Yeah,
I just wanted to hear his voice.
Yeah.
That, I think a lot of women can relate to that scene, and I think that hopefully sharing that, like you said, and even what you're saying now, will make some girls, especially in entertainment, be a lot more aware.
No, not especially in entertainment. This could happen. You could be the babysitter at a house, and the husband could date rape you. And you don't even realize it's rape. You just think, like, what did you do?
I do wrong, right?
I mean, if you watch enough movies on TV or you hear enough people's stories, they will shame women into thinking we did something wrong. Yeah. And one thing that I'm proud of in my career is I've never been Me Too'd. Nobody's ever asked me for sex to get a job. I've only been unemployed for 2 weeks in 35 plus years of being a paid broadcaster. 2 weeks. They fired me, but I had no contract, so I had no non-compete clause. And I got a job 2 weeks later. I was working at 98.7 KISS. And that was hot when it was Hot 97, but they hadn't changed playing hip hop music yet. There are a lot of little nuggets in my documentary and my movie that just watch it with open eyes, a snack if you can. I'll be watching along with you. I've seen the documentary. I haven't seen the movie, and I want to watch by myself.
Well, we'll be watching on Saturday the 30th. Thank you so much. Any suggestions for women young women out there I mean, your story is so inspirational because we see that you had a vision and you stuck to it no matter what. Any last minute words of advice for maybe not even women, just people out there that have a dream and need that extra oomph to get there?
Have 3 dreams. Honestly, I mean, it just so happens I'm the lucky girl whose actual dream worked out. My actual dream was just to be a radio star, married to a man and throwing great dinner parties and, being the midday girl at the radio station. I didn't know that I'd be a star. I mean, a star in my own mind, but not a star. I didn't know I'd have a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame over my head. I didn't know any of this stuff was going to happen. And my plan B was I wanted to work on Madison Avenue. I wanted to be in advertisement because I'm really creative and I like that world. I also at one wanted to think about being an architect. You have to know when to give up on your dream, honey, because there's nothing sexy about there's nothing sexy or commemorative about still being in school trying to figure it out at 45. You would at least have to have a good handle on your life.
Yeah.
And the earlier you figure it out, the better.
I like that. Well, thank you again. Congratulations. And we'll be watching.
We'll
be watching on Saturday the 30th. Thank you.
Me too.
Bye.
Bye.